RCB are looking good, and they're looking good for the top of the table as they just complete formalities against the Rajasthan Royals. There's another game in the IPL to look forward to. We're going to do that on Whirlpool presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Time Out, powered by Delhi and KKR at Sharjah, and that toss has already happened, and we know that the Knight Riders will be bowling. So let's rejoin Sanjay Manjrekar and Gautam Gambhir, who's at fond memories with both Delhi and Kolkata, because plenty of interesting team news. And whenever the action goes back to Sharjah, God only knows what we'll expect and what we'll see today. KKR are bowling first, Gautam, and they've made some interesting changes. They've dropped Kuldeep Yadav and brought in Rahul Tripathi to strengthen their batting. Thoughts?
Oh, makes sense. And they've got Andrew Russell who can give them a couple of overs as well. And I'm sure it's a smaller ground and it's a tactical move. And they wanted to strengthen their batting because obviously Pat Cummins at number 7 is probably a little thinner on the batting. So now they've got Rahul Tripathi. It would be interesting to see whether they actually still open with Sunil Narayan and Shubman Gill, or they pushed Rahul Tripathi at the top of the order. I have a feeling that they will still continue with Sunil Narayan and just let him go the way he's playing, irrespective of whether he comes off or not. They've just strengthened the batting, and it makes sense.
Sanjay, thoughts on KKR before we move to Delhi?
Again, good selections. They had 7 bowling options at one point of time, and they may have felt that Sharjah Kuldeep Yadav too much of a risk. Flighted classical bowler, even if he bowls well, gets a wicket in 1 over, there's a likelihood of him going for 25, just by bowling well. So those kind of bowlers are a massive gamble at Sharjah. As far as Tripathi is concerned, I have a feeling that they might have him at the top of the order, because when you look at Sunil Narayan, diminishing returns at the top, and considering that Delhi have Rabada and Andre Nokia, they might think it's a bit too much for Narayan to handle, who has been out of form in that role. So maybe Tripathi opens, because Tripathi in the side and batting down the order, how much use is that when you've got Morgan, when you've got Dinesh Karthik, you've got Russell. So my guess, again, another educated guess, is that Rahul Tripathi might open and we might see the end of Sunil Narayan at the top.
All right, we will figure that out in the second half now that the Knight Riders are bowling. But just on the call to drop Kuldeep, if you're going with one spinner less, Gautam, you think that Kuldeep Yadav was in front in the pecking order to a Varun Chakravarti. It does look like now that's changed.
See, I think it's just the venue. Because if you see Varun Chakravarti, he's more flatter through the air. He doesn't flight the ball that much. He's wicket to wicket as well. But if you see Kuldeep Yadav, he's completely different. He's made for grounds which are bigger, because he can toss the ball up. He can actually bowl the wrong one as well, which might not actually suit in Sharjah. And again, I think the thing is, sometimes you end up getting this feeling that if Kuldeep goes for runs, his confidence will come down very quickly as well, and that's what they don't want it to happen. And with Varun Chakravarti, because you haven't played him, you haven't seen him a lot, so that probably could be a reason where he can actually be a little bit of an asset, especially in a smaller ground like Sharjah.
Any surprises that the team winning the toss has decided to have a bowl first at Sharjah? Would you still like to see the team winning first have a bat and set the score?
Not at all. Chasing is probably the best thing. And we've seen it in the past as well, when Rajasthan was able to chase a huge total. And I'm sure that whichever team wins the toss at Sharjah would look to chase, and that probably was the right decision as well.
All right, let's move to what we know of the Delhi Capitals. Couple of changes for Shreyas Iyer's side as well after losing their last encounter against the Sunrisers. R. Ashwin is back, so that's good news after playing the opening game against Kings 11, bowling just the 1 over, couple of wickets, and then hurt his shoulder. Didn't play any further part in that game or in the games after. But the man making way for him is actually Akshar Patel. And also one more change, Harshal Patel comes in and Ishant Sharma is out for this one. So let's get thoughts on that one. Gautam, interesting call. Ashwin plays and Akshar goes out. Like it?
Yeah, probably a little bit. I think it's a ground where finger spinners, it's going to be difficult for finger spinners actually to contain runs. Probably with Ashwin, yes, he can bowl that carom board, and he's got more variations than Akshar, and they've gone with the wicket-taking option of Amit Mishra, which is exciting, which is good. Because on a venue like this, you got to keep taking wickets, especially in the middle overs, if you want to contain the opposition. And with Harshal Patel, I thought that Ishant looked very, very rusty in the last game. And again, Harshal Patel, he can mix it up, and he can give you some batting as well. So they've actually gone with someone who can bowl those change-ups. And see, again, this is a venue where it's very difficult to judge any of the bowlers. And I hope that even if Harshal Patel doesn't have a best of days, they should continue with him, because
Hmm.
probably playing him at Sharjah, and then if he doesn't have a good day and then not playing him in the next one will be very harsh on a player like Harshal Patel. Because I think unless and until Ishant doesn't come back with complete fitness and with full rhythm, I think they should stick with someone like Harshal Patel.
Sanjay, thoughts on Delhi's changes?
I've got a little note here saying that Ashwin for Akshar is not a bad idea. Purely because, now that Ashwin is fit, you're looking at spin bowling, and then you have a choice of Amit Mishra, Akshar Patel, and Ashwin. So keep it simple. Looking at spin quality, Amit Mishra. I mean, a couple of matches and he's bowled superbly. So you pick him. Akshar Patel has done really well within the limited opportunities that he's got. But when you're looking at spin quality, Ashwin walks in, which is an excellent decision. They've got enough batting as well. Gautam makes a good point about Harshal Patel. Ishant Sharma in T20 cricket has gotten away just bowling line and length in the last match as well. First spell, middle stump, line and length doesn't work in Sharjah. In Sharjah, you've got to have somebody who's got a bag of tricks constantly. So, Harshal Patel is a seasoned bowler. IPL, he's been there for a long time. Hasn't played every game possible. But when you look at on the left hand side, plenty of batting there.
Yeah.
So they've gone with quality spin, and increasingly more and more as this IPL has gone by, Ronak, you can see that teams are actually backing the specialists. And in this case, they've gone for a specialist Ashwin to replace Akshar Patel, and Harshal Patel as a specialist Sharjah bowler.
All right. So is this just a call for Sharjah, Sanjay, or is Akshar Patel now lower in the pecking order to Ashwin and Mishra? Does that form the primary options even when they go out from Sharjah for you?
See, if they bat well in this match and if their batting continues to exude confidence to Ricky Ponting, they might still go with these spinners because Amit Mishra has done nothing wrong on big grounds. Amit Mishra will still, get you wickets. So they will actually commit themselves to quality
Hmm.
spin. And then when you look at their bowling attack, you've got Nokia there, you've got
Rabada.
Rabada. So it looks like a fabulous bowling attack, and this is where we keep saying about the depth in two squads that have been very impressive when it comes to depth: Mumbai Indians and Delhi Capitals.
All right, they're going to have a bat first, and that's been one area of concern. Prithvi Shaw's got runs, Gotham, but in the first few games, they've not had big power play scores. Sharjah, you'd expect the players to go differently, but I think you generally expect Shikhar Dhawan to go harder and go faster in the power play, wouldn't you?
I hope they don't play the venue. I
Hmm.
know there are times when you end up playing the venue. But see, again, the conditions are different, and you got to see what kind of a rhythm you're in. The surface will be different. It's a new surface, a new bowling attack as well against a difficult opposition. They've got a decent bowling attack. So again, I think runs on the board will always be crucial. But once you start thinking or imagining that there is nothing less than 200 which we need to defend, then it can actually go the completely other way. That if you decide to get 200, you might end up getting only 150. So take it as it comes. Obviously, you want to start off aggressively. You want to make the most of first 6 overs, and that is what you want to do in any of the venues. So Sharjah is no different. So the most important thing is that after 10 overs, you got to have that platform where people like Stoinis, people like Hetmeyer, Rishabh Pant can
Hmm.
come and absolutely explode. But if you imagine 10 overs, 60 for three, so obviously you're not setting the platform for some of your bigger hitters. So the most important thing for an opening batsman is to actually set the platform and try and judge that if we are 10 overs, 80 for one, can we still from there on get it 190, 200? Yes, you absolutely can, because you've got the firepower. Shikhar Dhawan obviously needs to bat at a better strike rate, because you can't leave everything on a young Prithvi Shaw. You don't expect him to just go out there and get runs at 140, 150 strike rate all the time. Sometimes a senior player needs to take up that responsibility, and so with Shreyas Iyer as well. I think they've left a lot for people like Stoinis, Hetmeyer, and Rishabh Pant to do. It's time for Shikhar Dhawan and Shreyas Iyer to actually bat at a higher strike rate as well.
Yeah, Sanjay, this was a point you made in their last game as well. You were critical of the approach and perhaps the time that some of the batsmen of the Delhi Capitals were taking. They seem to have a lot of batting. What approach would you like to see today at Sharjah against a bowling attack like KKR?
The thing that I'm looking forward to really, Ronak, is three batsmen in that Delhi team. I'm going to look at Shikhar Dhawan, how he bats, because now he's batting, first. So there is this obligation, especially at Sharjah. You can't be looking at 150 or 160. You've got to look at more. So that might just free up Dhawan to play the way he does. Now, Prithvi Shaw knows only one way to bat. The other person that I'm going to put my scanner on is Shreyas Iyer, because I have a feeling that he started putting a price on his wicket since he's become a captain in a T20 format. I think you got to stay in the moment. If there's a weak bowler bowling at you at that time, you have to cash it, because who knows later on, whether you can get your rhythm or what quality of bowling you'll face later on. Pant also in the last game took the game towards the end too much. So when you have batting there, when you've got people like Hetmeyer, Stoinis, I think there's no harm in some of the Delhi batsmen, three in this case, to stay in the moment. So that is going to be my focus, to see whether Dhawan stays in the moment and plays to the merit of the ball. And Shreyas Iyer, especially the numbers that you just showed, aren't numbers that you can have batting at number three. So, I think it's very important for the coach to have had the right conversation with these guys and just, go out there and play, express yourself, play for the team. Don't worry about where your career is going in T20 cricket or 50 years cricket.
You look at the way Shreyas Iyer has been used, Gautam, this year. It does seem like there's a keenness to have him in the middle, above or ahead of the internationals like Hetmeyer and Stoinis. Let's assume they get off to a good start today. Would you rather see Stoinis with the batting form he's in and Hetmeyer and Pant take the charge on? Can Shreyas Iyer be a bit of a floater in this lineup? Because it looks like Delhi want him in ahead of the others that I mentioned.
We always like to have a batting order which is more floating, always. And that's what T20 cricket is all about. You can't have a very rigid view about T20 batting order. So if you have a decent start, there's nothing wrong in pushing someone like Hetmeyer if Shikhar Dhawan gets out, or Stoinis, or for that matter, even Rishabh Pant. The problem is that if you have a very fixed top three, sometimes what happens is that if you lose early wicket, then the top number three, who's actually playing as a pure batter and captaining the side, can actually start taking a lot of pressure on his own self. You want to build a partnership and stuff. But sometimes, like how we've spoken about, like if you send a more carefree kind of a batter, he would just go out there and play the way he would want to, and he could express himself. And that is what T20 cricket demands as well. Some of the coaches have been very rigid even in the past. So hopefully going forward, and probably with this batting lineup, what Delhi has, obviously Ricky Ponting needs to be more flexible and not that rigid.
Product
All right.
floater has to be used with a little bit of smartness. If there are spinners likely to bowl in the next 3-4 overs, Shreyas Iyer is a great guy to have in. He has a brilliant strike rate against spinners. Come fast bowlers, he's sort of not as good. So if you have fast bowlers bowling and you expect them to bowl for a while, then your people are Shemron, Hetmeyer, and Stoinis. And don't consider Stoinis as a bowler who can bat as well. He's a proper batsman in Australia.
Yeah.
Bat him at number three. So spinners on, likely to be on. Shreyas Iyer is your man. We think the spinners are done, and it's going to be mostly fast bowling, Hetmeyer and Stoinis for me.
All right. I have a question for the two of you. You can take a minute if you'd like to think about it. How do you bowl at Sharjah? Who wants to go first?
See, carry on. Please.
Yeah, see, because I've been watching every game. I've watched the highlights of the game that I've not watched every ball. And every time I'm watching the highlights, the batsmen getting out are basically the balls that have been straight in the stumps. Look at Chahal this season. Look at Finch in the last match that we saw. The ball that was straight got him out leg before. So, you're going to get hit. You have to assume that you're going to get carted for 10, 12 runs and over. But if there is hope of getting a wicket while you're doing that, so often you see AB de Villiers making room either off or leg and the bowler following him. There's no way you're going to get him out because the stumps are here. Leg before it's gone, clean bowl is gone. So keep it simple, and you'll see all those graphics and stats that will keep telling you every game that anything that has been closed in the corridor hasn't been hit as much. It's just this preemptive feeling that if I bowl there, I'm going to get hit for six. So they keep it away from the batsman on both sides, and the same thing happens. So my view would be to keep it straight and simple and just sort of grind your teeth and just live with it.
Gautam.
See, it's very similar to playing at Chinnaswamy. So whenever we played at Chinnaswamy, I've always said one thing to the bowlers. If you have plan A, don't change it too quickly. Back your best delivery. Unless and until you've actually gone for too many runs. What happens with a lot of bowlers on a flatter wicket or on a smaller ground is they don't back their plan for too long. They suddenly, one ball, they've got one plan, and the other ball, they've got other plan. So whenever we bowled against people like Chris Gale or AB de Villiers, you got to keep hitting that good length and let them do what they want to. Sometimes what happens is because there's so much of pressure on a bowler, he starts thinking whether I have to go full, I have to go pack of lane? Do I need to bowl a bouncer? Do I need to go wide Yorker? No, stick to your plan. If you've made a plan, unless and until you're getting absolutely thrashed, then it's fine to go to plan B. But you can't go one delivery plan one, plan A, second delivery plan B. Bowl your best delivery, ball after ball, delivery after delivery, and you will be more successful than probably you be more going for more runs. So that's what we've always spoken about against the best in the world as well. Keep hitting that good delivery, and you'll get the results.
Ronak, you
Right.
know my thoughts.
Yes.
I mean, this is something that we've discussed all the time, isn't it? I'm watching the highlights of Sunrisers Hyderabad CSK, and one of the reasons why poor Khalil Ahmed keeps getting hit for runs is because every ball that he bowls in an over is different from the other. So today's variation is actually not too much of variation because a batsman is expecting a variation. So if a bowler is going to do a lot of variations, he becomes predictable in a very interesting way. So it's a double bluff. Keep it simple. Ishant Sharma, when he bowled, his first game, the first couple of overs, kept it simple. It worked. It's Sharjah. It won't work as easily. But still, I would say less variations. Keep it simple. Keep it straight. Good length.
All right.
And
Let's pick up. Yes, Gautam.
And hitting a good delivery will always be difficult for a batter, even if it's a repeated delivery.
All right.
That is what
Let's
we always
point.
believe.
let's
Fine.
let's see how things go in 20 overs at Sharjah and pick up this conversation after that. There's Pat Cummins, there's Sunil Narayan, and there's two young Indian seamers in form. So we'll see how they bowl at Sharjah in a different challenge. Before we round off, quick comments to just sum up formalities at the RCB RR game. Convincing 8-wicket win for Virat Kohli's side. And Sanjay, we did see Virat Kohli at his best. Where was this game decided? Just at halftime with the lack of runs that Rajasthan managed?
Yes, and with the quality of batting that RCB had and great chasers in their team, and Virat Kohli actually showed in this run chase to some other teams that when you're chasing about 150, 160, keep that required run rate within manageable limits. He hit a 6 in the 15th over of Tewatia. He wasn't looking to take the game right till the end, making things a little more difficult for himself. I thought they paced their run chase perfectly, so there was no final flourish needed in the end.
What's the takeaway from this game more for Rajasthan, Gautam? Is it trying to fix that middle order issue, or is it perhaps even a lack of potency outside of Jofra Archer with the ball, which perhaps we didn't get to see as much in Sharjah, but it does seem like they couldn't even make a game of what was at least something to bowl at.
Look, that would always be the case with Rajasthan. If you look at their entire squad, apart from Jofra Archer, their bowling attack, and apart from Jos Patla and Sanju Samson, the batting, so they've got a lot to think about. Yes, Rahul Tewatia has delivered. Yes, Shreyas Gopal needs to deliver. Jaydev Unadkat again. I think he hasn't looked that threatening in the last 4 games. He needs to deliver as well. He's probably someone who they've backed big time. They've had a lot of trust on him. So it's not only about just going there and bowling 4 overs for 35, 36. You got to take wickets. You're a premier fast bowler. Yes, Jofra Archer is your probably your best wicket taking option, but you got to strike with the new ball as well, which Jaydev Unadkat hasn't done. So they need to think a lot about, and plus, hopefully, when Ben Stokes comes back, he could deliver as well because they're in desperate need of someone like Ben Stokes who can give them a couple of overs and probably that firepower which they are desperately required in the batting lineup.
All right, Gautam Gambhir, Sanjay Manjrekar, thank you very much. Let's have the two of you back at the innings break
Thank you.
between Delhi and Kolkata. And of course, you can get a review from Gautam and Sanjay on the Bangalore Rajasthan game on ESPN Cricket 4. We'll be back for the innings break show on Whirlpool Presents ESPN Cricket 4 T20 Time Out, powered by Dell. See you then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're still around for a second or two. So just to make sure that
So this is like the old times when in Doordarshan, before they were
I
supposed
think
to go
our,
off
I think our producer who's doing this remotely has taken a break perhaps. When normally in a studio you could actually wait for the cut. Now you're at home. I think we can just go. No, Sanjay, you can go get a cup of coffee. Gautam can go.
No, but
garden.
tell our producer wakes up. I'll tell you a funny story of a guy who realized that he's still on air and he told his guy, bolte raho.
Now I know my producer is back. So maybe there was
Okay.
something that was unavoidable. So here he is. Or maybe our conversation was so dull that he...
Shami has just bowled a straight delivery and he's got a leg before. He's been one of the more successful IPL bowlers this season because he's bowled it.
Which
straight
Shami?
and
Which,
kept it
what are you
Mohammad
watching?
Shami. I'm watching the highlights here.
Oh, you're watching highlights.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Can we
We'll
go
see
now?
you in 20 overs. Bye, Gautam. And see you guys.
See you, Gautam.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.